Bookcase and Coffee presents Buzzing About Romance, a quick shot of romance.
Hey everyone, welcome back to A Quick Shot of Romance. On this episode of A Quick Shot of Romance, I am joined by Heather, otherwise known as Minnesota Hockey Mom Reads on Instagram. We are reviewing all the way Book 2 in the Hot Jock series by Kendall Ryan, and shocking enough, it is a hockey romance.
Weird, I know. Hello, Becky. Hello, everyone.
Welcome back to the podcast, Heather.
Thank
you are
you.
all rested and ready to dive into July because you just got back from vacation.
Yes, it was so nice to get away and just be away. It was really great.
How many books did you read?
I think I only read 4 or 5, so that's not terrible.
That's
right?
not bad. No, well, and I'm sure, husband and children demand attention.
I know, those darn kids and family.
You have that moment when you're reading a book, and actually while I was reading this book, the girl child interrupted me once to ask me a question. I was like,
go away. I actually missed listening to audiobooks a lot because I usually just put my AirPods in and I do things at home or in the car. And so I wasn't really by myself ever. So I couldn't listen to audiobooks and I kind of missed it. So
husbands and children all the time.
I know. So I actually, I went out to get coffee this morning and was listening to this audiobook. So if you haven't listened to the audiobook, recommend.
It's good. It's a good one, huh?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay, so read us the synopsis from Goodreads.
Okay. So his protective streak runs a mile wide. She won't let her past define her. If you're in the mood for explosive chemistry, soulmate, deep love, and tons of feels, get yourself a copy of the standalone romance today. I know it's time to move on from my rocky past and get back out there and start dating again. It's just that every time I think about it, I get all nervous and sweaty. Good thing I have a secret weapon to help me. My best friend, professional hockey stud Owen Parrish. He's the king of hookups, and he promises he'll be my guide through the world of online dating. With his help, I know this won't be as hard. I've never been this hard in my entire life. My friend Becca wants my help hooking her up with some douchey guy from a dating app. I said I'd help her, but now I'm noticing all kinds of things I can't ignore, like how pretty she is behind those baggy clothes and messy buns. I want to be the one to help her, to show her the ropes in the bedroom, and it turns out Becca's game to let me take a more hands-on approach. But what happens when she's ready to take her newfound confidence and move on? I've never been boyfriend material, but for her, I want to try. Your favorite hot jocks are back with an all-new standalone novel if you like sexy, confident men who know how to handle a stick on and off the ice, and smart women who are strong enough to keep those big egos in check. This series is for you.
So this was released in September 24th, 2019. So it's been out a while. I know it is available in my library, but it is now part of Kindle Unlimited.
Yeah, so this is new within, she just put it on KU recently, I think.
Yeah.
When I saw that, I was like, oh my gosh, now this is the time for everyone to read this series.
So Trope's best friend's brother, because Becca is best friends with Owen's sister. Hockey romance. This is absolutely friends to lovers. And it's a slow burn.
Mm-hmm.
But for being a slow burn, I would say it's fairly steamy. I put it at about a 3.5, almost a 4.
Yeah, I think once they get there, it's pretty hot.
It's pretty good. Titillating. That is the word of the day. Titillating.
Yeah.
I'm trying to come up with new words for sexy and steamy instead of, because we all know I hate the word smut. Hate it.
Right.
And I'm tired of hearing steamy. So anyway.
Very spicy.
It is very spicy. We should put a trigger warning, content warning on this book, though. The main character is a victim of a past sexual assault. It is not on page. It happened 6 years previous to the book. But make sure if you decide to read this, you check content/trigger warnings, because we don't want anyone to be traumatized.
Trigger. Right.
Okay, so let's just start with the man, Owen.
Oh, I don't know if you read book one. So book one is Owen's best friend, Justin. And so they're roommates. And so you kind of get a little feel of what Owen's like. And you're like, oh my God, he's just kind of like that goofy, fun guy where everyone just kind of loves him. And he is a playboy. He really likes the ladies.
Yeah, I mean, you get that sense that he's this flirty guy. Even the opening sequence of this book, I believe I have read book one, but it would have been a while ago that I read book one. And I don't know that I ever went back and read this. I didn't read this book. This was my first time reading this one. Okay. So I do feel like I kind of read it as a standalone. So it does allow you can read these books as standalone. So that's something to note. But just from the first opening sequence, chapter one, you get the feel that the ladies like Owen and Owen likes the ladies. Yeah,
he doesn't mind being the playboy. I mean, he really doesn't.
He embraces his flirtiness. He isn't overtly sexual. I wouldn't say that. He's just flirty and confident.
Mm-hmm. He is very, very flirty. And I think one of the things I love most about him is he truly values his friendships, but he really values his friendship with Becca. Like he loves that friendship piece. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you don't get that when you first meet Owen. You don't kind of see the actual depth of who he is and what a good friend he is and what a good teammate he is. But as the story progresses and the relationship between the two of them progress, you see that underneath that very thin layer of playboyness is this very careful, thoughtful, wonderful man. And he really did everything right. I don't feel like there was ever a moment in this book that, uh-oh, dude, that was not good choices.
I agree.
You know, because, I mean, there are situations where he's out in the bar with teammates and girls are flirting with him, but he's very clear to say, I'm not interested. And he made sure that everything was about Becca. And I did like that. He allowed her to take the lead, even though he is definitely an alpha type hero.
Right. I mean, he's said, I like to be in control. I mean, and he's a goalie. And so he's like a very regimented, like in control, super competitive guy. But you're right. He was like, if you're not comfortable with this, we're not doing it. And I think at one point she's like, well, you're blue balls. And he's like, I'll get over it. I don't care. Like, if that's not what you need or want, then I don't want it either.
Well, and he definitely has the swoon factor for being an alpha character. For being an alpha character, he definitely brings a lot of swoon, which I really appreciated in this story. Now, sometimes we do, and I talk about this later, there isn't a ton of hockey in this romance.
No, I would agree. And I would actually say, like, I don't know if any of the books, like, they go to games or whatever, and there's some away game things, but it's not a lot about there's not a whole lot of technical talk about hockey.
But you do get the sense, so saying that, I do feel you get the sense that Owen in particular embodies what I expect a professional hockey player's personality to be.
Yeah, and it's very clear, this whole group of friends, that they're a team. It's a very, that friend group, it's a very big team thing. And I will say, like, with a lot of these characters, like especially Owen, like I liked Owen in this book when I first read it, but then in the next books in the series is when he's still in those books and you almost fall more in love with him. And so I think that's very true to a lot of the characters in this series. So I mean, I just think it's on KU. There's no reason you shouldn't read it.
Right. So let's talk about Becca a little bit. She was the victim of sexual assault in college her freshman year. So it's been 6 years. She's had a hard time connecting with men ever since, which
I get
fair.
it totally.
She wants a relationship, but isn't sure how to overcome her fears. And in the book, they call tequila truth serum.
Right.
So from her inspiration of too much tequila one night, she comes up in her hungover state the next day after she boldly puts herself out there to Owen. She comes up with this plan to have him kind of help her maneuver and start dating.
And I think she said, I think she had gone out on dates. And then it's like when it reaches a certain point, she can't. And I think as a woman, and I've never, experienced what she did. So I can totally understand where all of a sudden you get to the spot where you're like, oh, and, I think one of the things that she talked about over and over is that she didn't trust these men.
Yeah.
But, like Owen, she can trust him because, like at one point she's like, time out. And he's like, did you just call time out? And she goes, yeah. And they talked about it. Like, what's going on? And he's like, all right, well, let's just take a step back then. And you're like, and I think that she has a comfort level. So you could understand where she didn't have a comfort level with somebody she met on a dating app.
Yeah, I would agree. And Owen does some really great things leading up, because it's a slower burn. So it's like almost, I think it was 57% before there was an encounter.
Right.
But Owen does a couple of things that are fairly steamy and sexy in a way that you don't think they are going to be. He has this thing that anytime he's in town on Mondays, he goes to this massage parlor that's in a mall. And all his friends tease him that he's going to get happy endings and, totally like make fun of him. But he's never taken anyone there. He doesn't tell his friends where it is or anything. They just know he goes to a massage parlor. But one of the first things he does with Becca is take her to his massage parlor, which is this very small family-owned massage parlor by a Vietnamese family that does foot massages and hot stone massages.
Yeah.
So it's like very PG. But he, one, you don't think about it because it's not really mentioned on the page, but for some victims of sexual assault, touch can be from strangers can be issues. And you get the impression that Owen kind of has thought about those things. Like one, he wants her to be relaxed before they have this conversation and start figuring out where things are going. But also it's kind of helping Becca re-simulate and be able to handle touch from other people.
And he's there. I mean, like, he's like, I'm there. Like, I'm there to support you. It's all like him just supporting her.
Yeah. It's really great. It was just, I thought that was a really great scene. It was funny, and his friends make fun of him.
At one point when he's going out of town for a game, he brings her a gift and it's like, he's just a really great book boyfriend,
he bought her a vibrator. He bought her a pink sparkly vibrator. Because he wanted her
with batteries.
Batteries. There were batteries in it. Yes. He wanted her to verbalize what she liked and what she didn't like. And that's not something she'd ever actually really explored. And he felt that this would help them with communication. And also so that the first time they did do something, he'd be able to know what to do and where to go, kind of, which if you think about it is very analytical in thinking.
Kind of a guy thing too. Like, I mean, like he's like, I'm not gonna lie, it's pretty hot thinking about you. Like I'm in New York or whatever.
Right.
And you're in Seattle and you have this vibrator that I gave you. And that's pretty awesome.
Also, okay, I thought Owen was hilarious with his manscaping and the fact that he goes commando 99.99 all the time. Like never wears underwear. And it's more than once that it's brought up.
Well, and I think I think sometimes it's a sensory thing for guys. Like they just don't like them.
It's so
Like
funny.
it's tight on their waist or whatever. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
It's so funny.
It is
So
very funny.
Becca's history, though, like things are not easy for Becca, even outside of the outside of her trauma that she's experienced. It took her a while to find a good job. She is now the assistant to the owner of the hockey team, and Owen's sister is actually who helps her get the position there
Through Owen.
through Owen, which is awesome. But like she's trying to do everything on her own. She worked for kind of a douche nugget accountant, and Owen. There's a flashback where Owen talks about the first time that he meets her, and how he's always kind of had this need to take care of her. So, and you totally see them falling before they even realize that they are.
Well,
falling.
and I think too, Owen just, he cares like a lot about his sister, Elise. And so he takes care of Elise. And so Becca and Elise were good friends. And so then he kind of just like adopted Becca because she was so important to Elise. And then in turn, Owen started to care about Becca. And I think he had said at one point, like, I couldn't even, like, obviously Becca is a good looking and I'm attracted to her, but she's Elise's friend. I just couldn't go there. And then when he started to look at her like that, he's like, I mean, why did I not notice this?
How did I miss this? I do think, though, I do feel like in this book, Owen's character outshines Becca's character. I think this is part of what bugged me a little bit about this book. I wanted to know more about her thoughts, more about her as a person. I felt the connection with Owen was genuine between them, but I feel like I would have still have been some moments for her, like with the touch, and even when they're in their intense moments and feeling out like her first sexual experience in 6 years, I thought that I would have liked to have had more insight to her brain and how she was dealing with it. I feel like we kind of glazed over some of that, and that would have helped me as the reader connect a little more with Becca's character.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, there were times, like there's a girlfriend group, and I think having a little bit more of insight, like we said, from Becca could have made it even better,
Yeah. I mean, it was a great book. I wanted to see that moment, that aha moment for Becca to grasp her power, to truly know in her brain, not just that she loved Owen, but even outside of that, she was going to be okay. That she could be loved. She deserved these connections. She could handle touch again. And there wasn't really that moment in this book. And I just wanted more power from her, just kind of taking back what she had lost over the last 6 years because of the assault.
Yeah.
So, and okay, I'm going to spoil it. So you're going to want to go like 3 seconds forward, but, I do like that there weren't any big breakup moments in this book. The key to this book seems to have been communication. And I do feel like that we just got started with the two of them finding their connection, and then it ended.
Right. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think I've talked about this before. I kind of get sick of the whole story arc where like they take forever to get together, and then they get together, and then they like break up, and then
The third
they
act.
get right back together, and then they get married, and it's like, that's not real life. So I really liked how this story flowed, and I think you're right that it just got started. And so while we don't get the insight into Owen and Becca, they're in the background. So you kind of, in the next book, so you kind of see their
where they're
relationship.
headed. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get down to the final buzz here and our 3 questions. Heather, did you like this book?
I love this book. If you remember, Owen was my pick for the All-Star Book Boyfriend.
He was.
So he was my goalie. So I love this book. I actually love this series. I recommend it to pretty much everyone.
Everyone.
How about you?
I did. I'm a little late to the Kendall Ryan party, although I did go back through my Goodreads and I have read a couple other books by her, but I'm not sure that I've read, my Goodreads said I read book 1, but I don't remember it. So I don't know exactly how that happened. But I did. I really did like this book. Who do you think typically would like this book?
I think people that might be new to a hockey romance, if you're not sure that you like sports romance, this might be the thing, since it's not super sport romancy.
Yeah.
There's not a whole lot of the sports aspect to it. It's more of like the couple and the friend. If you're not sure, if you kind of like steamy books, maybe this is a good one. It's kind of a slow burn up to that spot.
Yeah. It's a great friends to lovers romance. So if you're into friends to lovers, this is absolutely a read. Or I would even say this is friends with benefits for some of this book.
Yeah.
It is light on the hockey. So again, if you aren't sure that you like hockey or sports romance, this is a great place to start. Also, if you are coming out of fade to black romances and you think you want to read a little bit more sexy of a romance,
yeah,
this is going to be like a little hotter than it's obviously a little hotter than, a plain description romance. But this is not like BDSM, but there is definitely sexiness in this book.
Right. And if you are a person that needs you need to feel the connection between the characters in order for them to have, to be intimate, this is the book. This is a good place to start, because that they like each other and they care about each other, and so sex is a part of that. And I think that's true. If you are thinking your fade to blacks are getting a little boring, then this is it for you.
Okay, so Heather, and this is an easy question for you, would you recommend this book?
Obviously, I recommend it to anybody and everybody who will listen to me.
I would totally recommend it. It's a quick, steamy read. I don't think it's maybe 300 pages, maybe. It's not super long, and you feel full character arcs, full story development. Like I said, you just want a little more because it ended kind of quickly. But if you get them in the background of book 3 or even book 4, then that kind of makes up for the fact that it ended. It'll make you want to read the next books. And like we said,
and I said too, I have it on Audible, and it's awesome to listen to also.
Awesome. Well, Heather, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate this. If you're listening to this and playing Summer Reading Challenge, this works for winter sports, hockey romance, friends to lovers. It's a mostly white cover. It's just a dude on the cover. I think that covers several of them. If your initials are KR, apparently that's a hard challenge one to find an author with your initials. So, anyway, thank you for joining me, Heather. I appreciate you so much. And happy reading until next time, everyone.
Find us on Instagram at buzzingaboutromance or on Twitter at buzzingromance. If you like the podcast, please leave a review. If you'd like to support us directly, join the Bookcase and Coffee Patreon and receive exclusive content only available to Patreon members. Check out bookcaseandcoffee.com for our on-the-shelf show notes.